So what I want to encourage you to do today is get off the sidelines and get into the game. The game is called UCLA Executive MBA Program. If you visited a class, you see a bit of the game upstairs. And the students' interaction in the classroom and hearing the stories of why they chose UCLA and the difference it's made in their lives. It's great for us, the staff, the MBA staff here, to see what happens in their lives within the 2 years. Things they aren't expecting to happen, the surprises that happen in their lives. And so, yeah, just want to encourage you to kind of get into the game. How many of you are looking at this year, going to apply, submit your application on the 15th or before? Great. And then next year? So for those applying next year, the application, we just updated it yesterday, and we'll do a couple of proofreads, but it will go live on August the 1st. So the deadlines are a little different, and so take a look at it. And the application is different. If you've looked at the application this year, the application is going to be a little different. Yesterday, I don't know, do any of you read Poets and Quants? It's the MBA. It's become a very popular site in a very short amount of time. And there's a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, Harvard, in their full-time MBA program, they have posted the earliest deadline, just in case you're thinking about quitting your job and going to Harvard. They have the earliest deadline they've ever had in their history, which is the middle of September. The other thing is they made some changes to their application. It seems to be panicking and confusing applicants looking at Harvard. And that is, this year, they have one essay. They have one essay. And they decided to reduce the number of their letters of recommendation from 3 to 2. We did that 3 years ago. And the reason we did that was because MBAs in the class of 2010 or 11 said to me, sometimes it's just really hard to get that third letter of recommendation. Our CEOs are traveling around the world or whatever, and we reduced it school-wide from 3 essays to 2, and Harvard caught on. They're doing well. Don't know if we'll ever go to the one essay question, but it's interesting, the response to that, because then it makes it even more important what they choose to say. The philosophy here at UCLA Anderson, mainly because of where we're located. A lot of schools cannot do this, but because of where we are, our massive entertainment industry, our amazing health tech, aerospace, rocket science representation on the West Coast. A PIMCO executive vice president told me what they call Los Angeles now is the Wall Street West. And we certainly have a great representation in the class from finance and accounting. But I tell people, we can fill a class of 70. But the goal is to really create 12 study groups of 6, where the diversity in each study group. And I used to say, we had a diverse class, and then would describe this small group philosophy. And someone in marketing stopped me after an information session one time, and he said, "Sylvia, what you're saying, it isn't what you mean. You're saying there's a diverse class, but almost every school in the world can say that. What you really mean are the study groups are diverse." And that's how we assign the first study groups, is we take a look, not at your geographical location, but we take a look at your functional area and your industry. And then we create groups that are equal, average GMAT, average years of experience, average age on paper is the same. So, any other questions about these things that are important in an application?
It's maybe a little bit tactical, but back to the recommendations. Do people get an email when you hit save or when you hit submit?
Yes, save. Yeah, because what I suggest at this point, you do that piece first. Go into the application, save it, it sends it, and then they're working on it while you're writing your essays.
So the button continue and save will send the email.
Yes, yes.
requirements in terms of recommendations for like your direct manager or any hard and fast requirements on what type of roles or titles?
This is something else I've seen over the 10 years I've done this, MBA admissions, is choose the person who is your direct supervisor, unless that person was a peer at one point. That doesn't always, you've got, if you've had a job before, anybody just had one job in their whole life and one boss, choose those that have seen you do the things we mentioned, who've seen you lead, who've seen you make a difference in your organization, influencing strategic decisions. Those of you who have seen you work in teams, so direct supervisor, maybe his or her boss, but it also can be from a company prior.
Does it matter if he or she is retired?
No. Because in the first question they have to answer is, how do they know you? So that's when they say, when I was CEO of this company. So we get all of that information and more. Letters of reference are usually pretty wordy. And many attach a letter, which I find to be even more revealing than checking the boxes. I really do like a letter attached because they say anything and everything they want. And that's usually to your benefit. 99.9% of the time, it's to your benefit. Yes?
It can also be like a direct business partner.
Yes, yes. That works too. So, resume, it's important in MBA admissions for you to get those transcripts ordered. Even if you're looking at next year, August 1 is when it goes live. You can start working on it then. Go ahead and have those transcripts sent to us. It's better for us to have those even before we get your application submitted, because your official transcripts can slow everything down. And so we want to make sure that we have those concurrently with the submission of your application. If you have resumes from another country, you cannot get the originals, then we need to see those. We can certify them. Leah is the person you want to see about that, and maybe some of you brought those with you today. That would be great. This year, we have one essay, one template. You write a 30-second intro of yourself that's from the perspective of it. I could read it to the committee if I needed to do that, and an org chart. It will be different next year. I wouldn't say it's harder or easier. It's just going to be different. GMAT or GRE, and if you haven't taken it yet, again, concurrently with the date, the deadline date, if for some reason that's not possible, then you want to talk to me about that sometime this morning. And then we invite you to interview, and then there's an application fee. If you are in the military or you're a veteran, then we have instructions on our military admissions page that you want to send Leah or me an email, and in the subject line say military application waiver, and we will take care of waiving your $200 application fee, and we'll let you know when that happens so you can go in. And that's just a small thing that we want to do because you're serving, and I know in this group we've got a good number who are active military. If you are waiting on a GMAT, if you're waiting on even one letter of recommendation, we will go ahead because we know. We need to let you know, because this is the deal here at UCLA. We recommend you for admission. That recommendation, and I mean, Leah and I recommend, goes to the faculty committee. Francesca Baugh, our senior director of MBA, is on that committee, and faculty are on that committee. They also make a decision and recommend for admission. Then your file goes over to UCLA Graduate Division. It can take them 4 to 6 weeks. Now, you'll get your answer from us sooner than that. But because we've done this enough, we know what we're doing. So, and what they do is they take a fine-tooth comb to your transcript and they recalculate that two-year GPA, and if they see anything, they let us know right away. But it still is a process because they're a graduate division and they're handling all graduate schools. So it's going to take them 4 to 6 weeks to send you an email. You know, and our orientation is August the 3rd. We want everything taken care of by that time. And so we will be making pretty fast decisions. Almost everyone that, because we can see application, we can see who has touched their application today or yesterday, and I do that almost every day. I go in and see who has touched it because that tells me you're probably going to submit it. And that's a good thing. So when I look at that list, we know, Leah and I know almost everyone. So we've talked, you stayed in touch with me and Leah, and so it makes it pretty easy to set up those interviews and get you in here and then just maybe wait on the final piece. But you will have an answer by July 1. We'll be working pretty fast.
Is the interview one-on-one? Is it with a panel?
What do you want?
I'll take
Take one-on-one? Yeah, it's usually with me, sometimes with Francesca, but usually with me.
And is there a presentation that will
I don't know, I've thought about that. I thought about going into one of the classrooms and giving you a whiteboard, but I haven't ever done that. I have had, actually coming into the class this year, in the interview, we were in a classroom because our offices were being redone, and sure enough, he went and got that marker, and he wrote out his business. It was quite a fascinating time, I have to say, but it also took longer than 30 minutes, so we want to keep it to 30.
And then I just had a quick question about the GMAT versus the GRE. Is there any preference for one, or is there a reason why the GRE is also allowed?
We allow the GRE because there are a number of people, especially in the past, which helped us make this decision, that are applying to business school and engineering school, or the School of Social Science. So, and that requirement is the GRE. It just seemed logical for us to accept that GRE as well. And we can translate those scores, and our application accepts those, and so we have no preference, really. We have no preference. There's some really interesting articles on when admissions directors say that. We have no preference. So you ought to take a look and see what they say. Because the test is a little bit different. The GRE is less expensive, and if $50 is going to make a big difference to you, then I'd be surprised you're looking at a program that's as pricey as this one. An MBA and an executive MBA is pricey. And that's one of the reasons that Gonzalo's going to be coming in and talking to you about what's your return on that investment for you or your company. So, what else?
So in terms of this schedule for the classes, it's every other Friday and Saturday, right?
Yes, every other Friday and Saturday.
So I mean, for some of us, it's not an easy proposition to go to the boss and tell him, I might do something like this, but like Fridays, this is my schedule. I need to be alternate Fridays off. So I mean, is there anything like
will we go talk to your boss? That would be an added service. That's not a bad idea, actually, because there are a lot of good reasons that you're going to benefit the company. And we do have a good number of our applicants that build a proposal to the company to let them know why how this investment of your being here on every other Friday rather than at work, how that will benefit them. So we could talk about that. We don't have a template for that, but it's actually something we're going to add to our list of admissions events for next year, just because that question is one that is asked often. We can give you a few tips on that, certainly, but we don't have a template. Let's see, let's make sure that you're one of the ideal MBA applicants, at least 8 years of experience, 5 years of management, either people or projects. We don't expect everyone to come in who's managed and done performance reviews for others, because there's a lot of positions at a management and executive level. You're called manager or director where you're managing projects or teams. We understand that. You have to have a 4 years bachelor's degree. If you have a 3 years bachelor's degree, then you need a master's degree. So you end up with 16 years of school. And then this is a key. Talking about your recommenders, we love to see the word high potential. This means you've talked to them about your career plan within the company. I interviewed somebody this morning. She said, I have already talked to my leadership. They know I either want to be a senior vice president of one of these organizations, or I will go somewhere where I get a big bump in compensation, but mainly in responsibility, or I want to start my own business. So I'm sure, well, in fact, I can tell you when I did read those recommendations, those words were used, or something like that. You know, we see this person moving into here or here or here. So very good things to have. And I think I've mentioned everything. I want to point something out as I begin to transition this over. Remember the final deadline, midnight, June the 15th. When I reviewed the application again yesterday, that's reading everything you see. It says Eastern Standard Time because that's Apply Yourself is located in Virginia. They're on the East Coast. So, you know what? Leigh and I don't get up at midnight on East Coast time and take a look at the number. As long as we see it when we come in the office at 8 o'clock on the 16th, we want to see it. So I have to kind of smile at that. But and because we have rolling admissions in EMBA, really, that there is some fudging there on that time frame. Let's see, relevance or career goals. One of the questions I'll ask you in the application is, well, how does an MBA relate to the goals that you've set? And one of the ways I know that, or can begin to drill down on those kinds of questions, is because you've submitted a resume. You've submitted a resume, and that may be the most important thing. If you've come to any event where we've talked about admissions, I'll say the resume is the most important thing because it tells us about your past accomplishments. And we know there's a very strong motivation in business and career accomplishments. Your past achievements will predict your future achievements. So that's what we like to look at. Thank you, and I'll be around this morning too.
So have any of you been to a previous info session, or if anybody went to the session earlier in the year on resumes? Okay, good. All right, so Sylvia asked me to do just a little block of time on some resume tips for your application. Just to ensure that your format and your content are going to show you your best light in this application. That's what you put in your resume. I'm talking also just from the standpoint, as a career coach, as to what you should be putting in your resume. So the content is really the pieces that come from the resume workshop that I do at the very beginning of the program. The format that you're going to see, Leigh is handing out some materials there. We're going to look at an actual format of a resume, a template, if you will. That is what we use in the resume workshop. It's what we suggest that you use. We have an experienced MBA resume book here that MBA students, our part-time or MBA students and our alums can upload their resumes, and it's viewable by employers. And then in your second year, you're going to be doing SMR, strategic management research. It is our field study project, which we all familiar with. And we like to have a uniform resume format for all of the students when they submit their resumes to their SMR companies. So one way or another, eventually, if you come to the program, you're going to end up having to use this format. So really, there are three key things that I hope you take away from this session about the resume for purposes of the application, and then also just in general. And they are relevancy, results, and readability. Three R's, if you will. And this is where you need to put yourself in Sylvia's shoes in terms of the application. What is her goal when she's reading that resume? If the resume, first of all, is easily readable, it's inviting to the eyes, but it's going to tell her who you are, what you are able to do, what you have accomplished, and what results you have achieved in direct relation to your goal of pursuing an MBA. So I want to look at the type of resume that we most prefer that you use. It is a chronological style resume, and it is this one that I was referring to a minute ago, the Joan G. Merlin. It looks like this. It's 2 pages, and I'm going to go through, kind of point by point, the elements of this resume. Basically, is the chronological style resume. I'm guessing everyone in the room uses a chronological type resume. The only other style is a functional, which is where you have your experience categories and your transferable skills, and then on the second page you have a MBA point of history. That is a good resume to use for only specific situations. I get into that in the workshop, but for our purposes now, she wants a chronological resume, dates on the right, header at the top, a summary or profile section, which I'll talk about in just a second, bullets, not block paragraphs as you describe your job functions. Results information, I'll talk about that more in just a minute. And then you'll see that the education section follows the experience section. So those are kind of the main general elements. And the chronological is probably most of you already know in PBS, and I'm sure because a lot of you do hire them yourselves, you're hiring managers. It's the most widely used, generally accepted, and preferred by hiring managers and permanent professionals. It is the best format to use if you are in on a career journey. All right, let's talk about the summary. And I think some of the things about a header in general before we get to the summary. You don't need to use your address. You certainly want to use your zip code, just because resume scanning software will many times use zip code. Definitely want to use your cell phone. Some people will use their home phone and cell phone, or an office phone number. You do want to use an email. It does have your name in the email address if you can. I had a student a few years ago whose email address when he started the program was snowboarder 24/7. I suggested that he change that out, which he did. And then always make sure your LinkedIn URL is in your header. You want to show that you are on LinkedIn. That would be easy for the employer in this case to click through. Sylvia will probably want to see your LinkedIn profile as well. And make sure that you personalize the LinkedIn take up. Okay, so summary we like to see for what I call an executive level style resume. Most executive level resumes will have a summary or a profile section. How many of you in here have that in your resume? Okay, at an MBA level, it's important to have this. I think at every level, because what it does is it's a difference between an entry-level MBA resume, which is a very specific format, 1 page, very definite order in which you have to put things in your resume and know something, versus a more experienced professional, a more experienced MBA. The summary section orients the reader immediately as to who you are, connects the dots for the reader. This serves as the place where you can put your position and statement. From a marketing standpoint, every product has a position statement. So you want to be able to say in 3 or 4 sentences, this is who I am, this is what I'm able to do, this is what I know how to do, I've been able to do successfully, this is what differentiates me, this is what I can do for you. So that the reader knows exactly, in this case, it's a marketing executive, a senior level marketing executive. Okay, I know that right away. Now I have a frame of reference and a context review and the whole rest of it. So Sylvia would like to see a summary. It precludes the need for an objective statement. Objective statements usually are very, very general, seeking a challenging position in a high-growth organization that will allow them to utilize new skills and competencies. It doesn't really say too much, but it takes up about 4 lines of space. So right away, this person has stated their objective right here in the open. They're looking for an executive level marketing position. Okay. I would, although I'm telling you to use this profile section, a lot of times I'll see in the profile or summary section phrases like results-oriented, bottom line, team player, proven track record. I would try to avoid those phrases. I refer to those phrases as business bag. It describes pretty much everyone in this room, every MBA in every class that shows up being a real results-oriented, bottom line, team player with excellent communication skills. So you want to take that available space in that profile and say something really distinctive about you. Now, this person talks about consultative summary style, leading over the team to high performance, and she's got a few accomplishments in here that have to do with the team success when she uses most of the business. But beware of some of those phrases that you'll see in a lot of the summary sections. Okay, so getting into the bottom of the body rather of the resume. All readers, whether they are an admission director or a hiring manager, read a resume, they are looking for results. Results in the form of accomplishment statements. So, here's a sample of the summary statement. It's a meta marketing sample, but you can see it's very similar to this one. But you can see they got very specific about the functions and areas of expertise within marketing. A lot of good keywords in there. That's the other thing I want to do in the summary section is use keywords. So I think, yes.
If you're not a career changer, should the profile speak more to your most recent position, or should it try to summarize overall your
Okay, so thank you. That it's an historical document because it's summarizing your previous experience and your current experience. But the most strategic way to approach a resume and write a resume is as a future-oriented document. So in other words, you would really want to only focus on those things that you've done that are directly relevant to what you're going to do next. Same thing in the summary. The summary is a vehicle that allows you to put the focus and call attention to the things that you want to do next. So that's how I would treat that. Okay. So accomplishments describe successes you've achieved. Provide results-oriented examples, not only for the resume, but for the interview. So it's really good for you to really kind of brainstorm and have a list of ones for both resume and interview. Because they do present you as a results-oriented problem solver and accomplishment-oriented person, which is what Sylvia is looking for, the high potential that she referred to. And they are so frequently omitted from most of the resumes that I see. I very rarely will see an end of resume where it perfectly, every single bullet perfectly has accomplishments on it. So it's really important that you go back over your existing content and really double check and ask yourself, have I identified the result now? Am I just describing the action that I took in that situation? More often than not, the missing piece of information is what happened because of the actions that I took. That's what I see time and again on these resumes. first C, first implement. So, you increase sales, you improve productivity, you take the initiative to solve problems, you create something new. And if you did, what was the before and now what is the after, and that may be increasing examination. Any kind of formal recognition of the public gives you in terms of promotion, in terms of accommodation, in terms of formal recognition, in terms of rewards. Those should be bullets. Those are points of accomplishment. I can show you, here's an example. This is what I typically see on an MBA resume. Had responsibility for leading an M&A team for 2 acquisitions. That's a pure action statement. This tells me what the person did. This came from an actual resume. So in digging and finding out more about what all was involved in that situation, this is what we ended up coming up with. Led the M&A team that directed the due diligence, purchase, and integration of 2 key acquisitions that added. So here are the results. Added $48 million in the annual revenue and effectively doubled the size of the company. So there were 2 results there buried in this one little phrase. So that's why it's really, really important for you to fully analyze and go back to the content that you have right now in your resumes in order to align them for that results information that you may have omitted that you missed. Make sense? Yes?
Said another way, if we have a bullet on our resume that we really look at and we can't find results, would you recommend getting rid of it?
Okay, thank you for asking. Not all bullets, not all job functions can or may have a result attached to it. So there may be information that you're putting on your resume that you just can't turn into something. You may be really new in a position where you haven't yet had a chance to accomplish something. You may be working on something may be in process. What you can do with those kinds of things is to say, creating and designing a system intended to serve X, Y, Z, into what the intention is as a result of that. But yeah, wherever you can, you want to take things. I recognize that not in any instances. Sorry, thank you for mentioning that. So, any other questions? All right, you also want to make sure you've eliminated the potential "so what" that the reader might have in reading that book. They certainly would have had a "so what" if they had done this. So, in other words, was there a resulting outcome? Or maybe you can identify a beneficial reason or purpose for doing what you did. Maybe there isn't any clear-cut results information, but you can identify a beneficial reason or purpose for the action. The impact of the action that you took, benefited. And then again, that was the work. Okay, I think on this handout, this other handout, I put some sample accomplishments here. And then because you want to make sure when you're writing your bullets, this is another thing I will see from time to time on the resumes, you can see on the sheet of sample accomplishments, every single one of them opens with an action verb. So here is a little list of action verbs, which you can kind of choose so you're not saying directed, managed, over and over and over again. But it's very important to use an action verb to open each one of those accomplishments. How many of you are hiring? Okay, so you have a natural advantage because you've got a lot of resumes. You know what you like and don't like. You know what puts you off. You know what entices you. That was natural. So I think that's your resume. Okay, so let's kind of go through now. Let me give you some specific guidelines. That's what these do's and don'ts. So we talked about the header. You know, whether you put your name up here, you just put the header, you flush it to the left, and those. A lot of these things are personal preference, and of course, as you can imagine, there's going to be as many opinions as people like me giving them about resumes. People who do tech hunters, you know, they're all over the place. But in terms of general format, this is kind of what we like to see. I spent almost 15 years in executive outplacement with at the time the biggest global outplacement firm. We would survey, oh gosh, 2,000 to 3,000 talent professionals every year, and we asked them what they liked and didn't like about some things, including the resume. And this was the format that we ended up using based on the feedback that we would get from all these employment professionals. This is the one I used to. It's good to use the same font throughout the resume, and I believe you should use the same font size. So don't put the, sometimes I'll see headers really tiny. In some ways that's the most critical information is who you are and how to get in touch with you. So don't make it too small. Just use the same font size, whether it's Arial or Times Roman, or a font that doesn't eat up space. So not too expanded a font. And then stick with the same font size. I think it's a simple way is just to use caps bold for the company names and boldface for your job title. And so you would put your company name and then right after it, the location, city and state. We like to see the dates over on the right just because it's easy to kind of scan and see what your chronology is doing. If the company isn't widely known, in this case, this woman, Yeoman, worked at Activision and Campbell Soup, so at General Mills, and we'll need to explain what those companies are. If you've worked at smaller companies, put a line right below the company name that describes what that company is. Now, this person just opted to put what we call a scope of responsibilities section right below her job title. You see there's 2 or 3 lines of space where she describes in general what her overall responsibilities were. And then she starts in with the bullets. This is an optional format, but it kind of makes sense so that the bullets are reserved for those results-oriented accomplishment statements that she has when she's putting on the resume. So, in other words, right below her job title, 50, P&L for $1 million, 10 million. So that's your scope of responsibility that describes your overall job scope. And then you started on the bullets. So that's one way of doing it. You don't have to do it that way, but that's sometimes a nice efficient way of doing it.
How far back should the resume go? I mean, if you did work before your
Resume should go, the content should go as far back as there is directly relevant information to the work that you are targeting for your next step. Or that there's relevant information in this case that you want Sylvia to know about. So, but if you've had a successive career path so that you're moving farther and farther away from relevance to what you did early, then probably I would say it's 12 to 15 years, it's 12 to 15 years. If anybody has worked over 10 years, you probably are going on to a second page. Even people with less than 10 years of experience, I've seen a lot of those folks, and if they've done really substantial things, they're going on to a second page. Much better to just take that second page, and at an executive level, it is entirely acceptable to have a 2-page resume. Look at how nicely this is laid out with white space in between each of the items, very readable, right? Isn't that one of my things, readability for us? Yes.
Just a quick comment on that. I had gone for a long time by the 1-page resume guideline very firmly, and I recently went to the second page, and I was amazed at how much more relevant information I was able to include by not squeezing myself into that space.
Right. So often, when I'll talk to people and get them to add a second page, they're adding back all this relevant stuff that they chopped out. Now, there are certain industries where a one page is a norm, but in the corporate environment, where most MBAs are coming from, 2 pages really is very acceptable. Yeah, you just want to make sure at the top of the second page, you put your name and an email or cell phone and the words page 2 so that they separate, somebody knows. Do not put your header, because that just looks like the first page of a resume. I see that once in a while with MBAs. So put page 2 and your name. And you can cut back on the detail to further answer your question as you move back in time. If you're going to have 6 or 8 or 9 bullets in your first job, and then as you move back, if there's less directly relevant information given your current job target, yes, you should move back, and ultimately maybe it's just the company name and job title as you go way back. You don't use any personal pronouns when you're writing a resume. Probably you all know that. You don't say I. You don't use I, mine, we. You speak in kind of an abbreviated first person. Right? So instead of saying I, mine, they, just say a. So you want to use it. Now, on the LinkedIn profile, we just say 5 to 10 seconds about LinkedIn. This is not very much for coaching. Your LinkedIn profile is these days by far way more important than your resume. Many more people will be seeing your LinkedIn profile. It's where everybody goes to check their lines out. How many of you go to check other people out on LinkedIn? Yes, everyone's in. I do all the time. So you want to look the way you want to be found. People go looking for you because they will. There will be many situations where you won't meet someone on your resume, you meet someone networking. They'll meet you and probably they'll need a little bit about it. So I would, if you haven't already, spent the time to have a decent profile. We have some great resources and great instructional kind of training from how to create a really good LinkedIn profile. But I would really invest some time to do that. If you're going to work on a resume, do that too, because more people will do that. Okay. Well, but what I was saying about LinkedIn is you can word in the first person in LinkedIn. You see a lot of folks that have done their profile section in the first person. It can take longer than you can on a resume of 4, 5, 6 sentences. And depending on the type of work you do, sometimes it's better if you write in the first person. And of course, you don't need to put stuff like references available upon request. There's no personal information on that. You shouldn't be doing anyway. But that's what it is. So everyone's going to be personal.
Is it appropriate after your resume is done to use that same format on LinkedIn?
Yeah. Your LinkedIn info can mirror your resume. In fact, you should be putting accomplishment bullets in your experience section. Yeah. Let's see. White space, yes. Narrow margins, avoid them. You should be aiming for 3/4 of an inch to an inch all the way around, all 4 sides. Try to keep to 2 pages. I know I've worked with MBAs that have gone on to the 3rd page, but try to keep to 2 pages if you can. Relevancy, remember that. It's really hard to separate ourselves from our work. I know I work with a lot of engineers who do highly specialized work, and there's a lot of detail on the parts. And I work with them to detach from their work and really edit the content down to the most relevant information for the purpose that they use that resume for. So again, it's thinking about the most relevant information. Thinking about keywords too. If you're targeting a particular level job, maybe it's the next level in your career progression, I would go out there and Google job descriptions for that job title. Let's say you're looking at a senior director of IT, you're a director right now. Google that job description. Or let's say you're targeting a CTO or CIO. Google those job descriptions. Look at job postings so you see what the key words are that you need to be incorporating in three people, hopefully three for you, somebody that knows your work really well and someone that doesn't know you at all. And hopefully more than three of you will catch tighter mistakes. It's really important to make sure that it's very clear. And then I think I mentioned earlier that we recommend that, and for an executive level resume, your education section would go after experience. With a few exceptions, if you are a research scientist, if you work in R&D, a tech company, or a pharma company, if you're a teacher, you put education before experience. But for corporate jobs, it goes after experience. Any other questions? If you have them on a resume, you can put additional information. Professional activities would go after your education. Let's say you have professional memberships and leadership positions. Let's say you had some interesting community activities and something directly relevant there to industry targeting that information. The personal, like hobbies and interests, I think that for me is more situational. Let's say you're applying to a company like Patagonia, you're an outdoor freak, meaning you hike and you climb up to it. Sure.
Well, especially if it's kind of just
Are you working with them right now?
But that was all.
Started. I'm Corinne Cheska. I don't think I've met most of you, but I'm the program director. And next on our agenda is Professor Gonzalo Freshas, who's the Senior Associate Dean of the program. And he's going to talk a little bit about ROI on your MBA.
All right. So Sylvia asked me to put together, because we always get this question about, what's the ROI? Is this worth it? So much money? Should I invest in this kind of, 2 years of hard work? And for some of you, it's student loans and things like that. And it's tough. It's tough because ROI used to be measured industry-wide. Let me give you a little bit of background. There's an organization called the Executive MBA Council. If you're familiar with it, you might know it's emba.org is the website. And they have a student portal, so you can get a lot of really valuable information there about programs and compare programs and things like that. A little bit kind of like poets and quants as well, but this is the one officially sponsored by the EMBA industry. And the Executive MBA Council has about 225 EMBA programs that are members from around the world. They all have to be accredited institutions by either the international accrediting agencies like AACSB or by the top government institution in the country or in the region. And they do a lot of surveys and try to provide statistical data for us and for you about the Executive MBA rule. So I'm going to share some of that with you, and I hope I didn't overdo it, but I figured we're talking about ROI, you need numbers, right? So I put together the best numbers I could, and including some very recent numbers. And it's been hard because the world collapsed in 2008. And so if you ask somebody graduating in 2009 or 2010 about ROI, probably weren't going to get a great response because everybody was doing poorly and a lot of people were losing their jobs. And now it seems we're starting to get back on track, what we can tell, economically speaking. And so I know that this year they're actually going to renew that ROI World Survey. But I will still give you guys some local information. So I'm just going to throw out a lot of numbers. It was hard to put all those charts on slides, so my apologies for my technological inabilities. So I have a lot of handouts, and then I'll show you maybe 2, 3, 4 slides, and then I will go into talking about some of the specifics and then open it up to questions. And I thought if we're going to talk about ROI, we need to talk about numerical ROI in terms of salary and things like that. We also need to talk about the qualitative ROI, because our students often tell us that the biggest value of the program was their personal development, their ability to be an effective leader and things like that. And I'll share an email that I got 2 days ago from no, I guess 3 days ago, from a grad of the program from 2008, just to give you an idea of the kinds of things that our alums are doing. So let's get started. And by the way, I guess I should have, I know I've met some of you already that came to previous sessions, but I should introduce myself. That I'm an associate dean of the program, and I work with Carla here, who's the senior associate dean of the program, who you'll be hearing from in a little while about the curriculum. I teach courses in tax, law, and international regulation of business, including classes in the elective block for the end of the program, which she'll talk about. And I also help oversee the international programs and the field study programs, the SMR program. So I'm heavily involved in the program, and I've been teaching here for 23 years. Also, I was past chair of the Executive MBA Council, so I was chair of your organization. We're very involved. Susan manages and runs the career workshops in the annual conference that we have in Paris last year, Houston this year. And Sylvia was the co-chair of the conference, the annual conference that we had in Vancouver several years ago. So the three of us are very actively involved in the Executive MBA Council. Okay, so let's see what we got. So first, I'll start here with a quote from Carla, who you will meet shortly. That you can do what you're doing now, but that will be here tomorrow. You've seen our thinking the next, perhaps, aspect of UCLA, and we've done a lot of, I've been to a lot of workshops and presentations about how, we're trying to train people today to do jobs that yet don't exist because of the changing technology and the way the world is changing. And so, many of our graduates have told us that that's sort of a key differentiator for them is what they've learned in terms of analytics and leadership and networking and the sort of intangibles of that have really helped them grow their careers. And so that's part of what you have to think about here. So here's just some basic, I'm just going to throw some numbers up there for you, and then I want to go over all the handouts. FEDMA is our fully employed MBA program. And the last time ROI was ranked by these organizations, because like I said, the last 3 or 4 years we haven't had rankings because of the way the economy was. Our fully employed MBA program was #1 according to Forbes, and you have a handout that I've given you, and this is the last time that the Wall Street Journal, it was before the economic recession. If you look at the one that says, which executive MBAs pay back? It's the white one, it has no colors. Which executive MBA? There you go, you see it, there you go. This is the last time that was ranked, and so again, we're going back several years. But back then, if you can see, we were #4 among all of the universities that were in the United States that were measured. But if you look at the actual amount of salary, we were the highest. And if you look at the 5-year projected salary and initial raises. So this is an outside, one of the few outside indicators that we have that actually measures our school against other schools based on objective data. And you can see that we measure well both in terms of being #4 overall in terms of percentage increase and actually being the highest in terms of money. Again, it's a little dated 2008, but given that many of our students stay in California and go on to work for large and small companies here in the state, I think it's very indicative. The Executive MBA Council is going to be surveying ROI, or going to be doing an extensive ROI study this year again. The last time they did it was back in 2008. And at that time, industry-wide, across all MBA programs in the world, the ROI was 2.3 years. That's the best figure I can quote you. Meaning that you make back in extra salary what the program cost. And I know what you're thinking, well, but I was probably going to get some sort of raise anyways. And that's true, that could be. But what students have told us is that the program really helps them leverage the raise. In fact, I think one of the stats you can see is that about half the class actually saw an increase in responsibilities and definitely most of them in salary as well. This is just an email I got this week. So I didn't make this up, you know, it just happened to come into my inbox as we were doing something. This is Neil Connor, 2008 graduate, and this is what he told us. I was reaching out to companies to do a strategic management research project, and Neil happened to write me back and said, we're interested in bringing back my company as a project, which is Hudson Scenic. It's a kind of a cool company that's in the entertainment space with, and he became the CEO January 1 and a big minority interest holder in the company. So I just wanted to share some qualitative, anecdotal type of part of that information with you. So that's that. Now let me go over some other statistics with you guys. Here, this past year, the Executive MBA Council did something that it hadn't done for about 6 or 7 years. It actually took from their year-end survey that they did for all the MBA programs, and it pulled out the top 25 schools in the world. And it did so by identifying across the major rankings, Financial Times, Business Week, US News and World Report, etc., what were the top ranked schools, and then it put, you know, anybody that made any of those lists was put on the list. And then they did, they asked a variety of information and data about those top 25 programs. It's a really interesting presentation on student, this is more on the qualitative ROI, what the students said was they felt the impact of the program on themselves and their career. And then what we did is I asked one of our staff to take these top 25 programs in the world and compare it to our year-end survey that we do, that the MBA Council does with our own graduating students, to see how did we compare with the top 25 schools in the world. So anyways, I thought I'd share that with you, give you some information. And then we'll go over a lot of these handouts so that you can see what's going on. So just to tell you, who are these top 25 schools? You know, in case you don't know, we are a top 10 school in the 2 major American surveys, which is Business Week and US News and World Report. In fact, we've moved up 3 in both of those in the last 2 years, which is a significant impact, a significant increase to move up 3 spaces in the top 10. But you know, you have the usual suspects of Columbia's and Chicago booths. You also have some fantastic foreign schools like ESA, Barcelona, London Business School, I'm sure is up there, it is. And some of these global programs like Triumph, which is, you know, HEC Paris, the London School of Economics and NYU, and of course we're there. And so is USC. So anyways, that's the top schools are in the survey. Just some demographic comparisons if you want to compare us to some of the top 25 schools. The class size last year was, I think, the largest we've had ever. And so I think this year we're probably going to be somewhere between 70 and 72 is probably the number. But across the other top 25 schools it was 66, and across all MBA programs it was 40. So we're all a little bit bigger. Average age of students, last year we were trended a little younger than we have. Normally our average age is 37. Last year we were a little younger, but you know, we're both us, the top 25 in the world, pretty much in the same 36, 37, 38 general. GMAT scores, trying to scare you, that's one factor we take into account, but we're a little higher than this. Average GPA, number of years of experience, and number of years of management experience. So get a look at what the profiles look like in terms of these statistics. Okay, so this was, the question was the impact of the MBA program on your career. And, you know, it was on a 1 to 10 scale, you know, 10 being this amazing impact and 1 being no impact at all. And so the purple is the top ranked schools. So the average across the top 25 was 7.5, which also was mirrored the general population of MBA programs, and we were at 8.2, so we were higher. The impact of the program on your personal goals, that was pretty high everywhere, both industry, top 25, but again, we were higher at 8.8. The impact of the program. One of the key impacts that a lot of students report to us is the fact that they're able to take what they learn on Saturday and put it to work on Monday at work or Tuesday at work, and that's really beneficial. So those of you that are talking to your employers about making sure you get the Friday off or maybe getting a little bit of financial contribution towards the program, you will bring tremendous value to your employer, and our students, again, rank us higher than the top 25 schools in the academy. Just to get an idea of the program size, the top ranked schools average 91 students, whereas our program averaged 75 over the years. You can kind of see the trajectory of what our program size has been over the years, with last year just being the highest. We've got a flood of applications also. It's really the highest applications we've had in a long time. And we have something kind of interesting. I put it up there. It doesn't have to do with ROI, but it just gives you an idea of the fact that our yield, meaning the people that we identify as accepted into our program, that then decide to come to the program, or the applications, I'm sorry, it was higher for us. So that shows you that, we have some highly qualified candidates, and there is, roughly a 1 in 2, 1 in 3 chance to get in. So that's sort of the statistical things I have. Now what I'd like to do, if I may, is go over some of these handouts with you. And then I just want to have time to open it up for questions. So the first one I'd like is the one that's the excerpts from 2011 and 2012 MBA Student Exit Survey. It looks like this, if you can find that, please. So it's the one that has the green, yellow, and red chart up at the top here. So these are loyalty matrices across the industry. So this is industry statistics, because then we're going to look at UCLA Anderson MBA statistics. So I wanted to give you a point of reference. So for example, so you can see that, roughly almost 60% of students had a high loyalty rating on the fact that the MBA program was something that had an impact on their career. These were called champions. About a third were neutral, and about 7.6% felt that it hadn't. Again, across all MBA programs. This is not our statistics. Impact on the career, you saw some of our statistics in the 8s and high 8s. These were the industry-wide statistics. And according to what the students reported, the student payback period was 45.5 months. So again, that 3.5 years payback period is still what's being reported by the students in these statistics. And again, across all MBA programs, not the top 25, not UCLA, this was the salary increases of salary entering, salary leaving the program across the world, reflecting a 17% increase according to these statistics. So this is just to give you an idea of industry-wide statistics. So then when we look at UCLA and UCLA Anderson, we can compare. All right. So now let's go to these charts, if you will. And the best thing to do is to put them in order by page numbers at the bottom. I pulled these out of the exit survey. These are actual statistics from the last 3 years that the MBA Council surveys all graduating MBA students among their membership, and then produces industry-wide reports. You saw that in the first page, as well as reports on our own school. And I've shared with you some of the charts showing what our students have told us upon graduating from the program. So this is not me, not us, but it's our students reporting to an independent body, Percept Research, what they felt in terms of the value of the program to them, the qualitative ROI, if you will. So, put them in order with page 3 being first. At the bottom right-hand corner, you should see page 3 of 16. And again, this is based on your entire MBA educational experience. Please rate the program and how it performed according to attributes. And then over at the top right, at the very extreme right-hand side, you can see whether this has been going up or down, etc. And you can see that a lot of the trajectory over the last 3 years has been an increase, with an overall mean of 8.6. So our graduating students ranked as 8.6 out of 10 on the program's ability to advance my career. And the only thing that's negative here, the little down arrow, use of technology in the classroom. We have just installed some great technology. In fact, I'm teaching right now a hybrid class where students are participating live remotely along with the students that I have live in class. In real time, appearing on the screen like the Hollywood Squares, I see them, they see me, they can answer questions in class, they can hear the students. And I have 12 members in a Thursday night class who are beaming in from Phoenix and San Diego, the Bay Area, and Las Vegas, and all these other places. So we've made some significant strides in technology, I think. So anyways, that gives you an idea, and you can look over some of the other factors that people have indicated. Moving on to page 10, if you can look at there. Let's look at this is upon entering your program, to what degree were your expectation, career, personal goals, and employer organization. We saw that, I put those statistics up for you in one of the charts. So again, the means are 8.2, 8.8, and 8.1. Let's see which other one I want to show you here. H5, to what degree has your ability to be promoted changed as a result of entering the program? And of course, 10 is greatly increased. And 3-year uptrend, and 8.3 was the mean. So this is a very high rating reported by our students in terms of their ability to be promoted based on what they've learned in the program. So similarly, 8.5 down below, to what degree is your effectiveness in your current job change as a result of entering the program? And then the last question is, during the program, have your responsibilities changed as a result of your involvement in the program? And they're about half reported that it had. And that's not too unusual to not only have the impact felt after you graduate, like William Chen, who graduated 3 years ago, called me the day after graduation and said, just got my dream job, doubled my salary, moved to New York in a month. You know, I mean, we get those kind of things. But overall, during the program, we have people get promotions and increases in responsibilities and work. Okay, so I'm not boring you to death with all this, but I figure you need hard facts, right? So I want to. Please ask any questions along the way if you have, so I'm not throwing out a lot of data at you. Okay, page 13, again, this is measuring the qualitative ROI. Number 11, overall, to what degree were your expectations met with the program? An 8.6. Number 12, the quality of the program, a 9.2. And then, likely to recommend, 9.2. So that means a very high degree of satisfaction with the program reported by our students. Okay, and then numbers, please. Salary numbers. That's what you want. Page 16. So that's what I got. So this asks what was your salary starting the program, and what was your salary when you graduated? And you can see the 3-year trajectory for our students. If you look at 2011, 2012, the graduating class of last year, the mean salary coming in was $144,357, and the salary exiting the program was $178,439. It's a 24% increase compared to the 17% increase we saw previously. And again, if you look at the Wall Street Journal, that showed a 5-year trajectory moving out so that you can see coming in, graduating, and 5 years out, so that you can see what that is. So anyways, that's all the stats that I have. So I wanted to just give you a sense. And again, yes, question. Fire away.
I'm curious, it seems as though there's been an overall improvement from 2009.
Right. Again, because of the economy.
I'm not just in regards to the salaries, but overall.
Yeah.
Have there been significant changes to the program?
We're always changing the program. We're always changing the program. Dean Hain, who you will meet in a minute, implemented specializations in our program, and she'll talk a little bit about that. And those have been hugely popular with our students, the ability to be able to specialize in finance or entrepreneurship, etc. And she'll explain a little bit more about that. We've increased our global electives. I'm sure some of you guys have heard that we've had these global electives where you can take a week, go out of country, either as an exchange student with another MBA program, or with one of our faculty members, Professor Sebastian Edwards, who historically has taught economics, the group takes a group to Latin America, where that's a specialty area. In 2008, we had one of those programs. This past year, we had 14 in 1 year. So 14 different countries in the world that you can choose from to go to do a 1-week elective. If you figure you can take a week off from work, and if you want to specialize in a certain region of the world, we've been everywhere. Except, and Professor Leslie, one of our strategy professors, is actually seriously talking about a program in Antarctica. It's about the only kind that we have. Wharton does one, believe it or not, based on leadership. But anyways, so those are some of the things, I think, that you've seen. We've our block electives have blossomed, and we've had more choices for the students to take electives with some of our most popular faculty. And also we've enhanced our leadership offerings to provide you more things from, bringing in some of our top faculty and things like persuasion, thinking on your feet, communications, things like that. And again, Dean Hain has done an amazing job really listening to the students to see the kinds of things that they want, and then being able to implement changes in the program that try to meet the students' needs. We try to be nimble when we can. Yes, sir.
Do you have any financial self-employed concept?
It's not broken down that much. I think there's some statistics in there about employment and how many people were unemployed. There's always a couple, unfortunately. And remember, some of those might be people from the military that got out of the military. They're now looking for a job. And we do have a significant chunk of our students that are either self-employed or interested in entrepreneurship. Our single biggest specialization is entrepreneurship. What do we usually have in that?
25, 30.
25, that's a third of the class almost is, a third of the class is pursuing that specialization. But I don't have any statistics. It was tough to pull all this together, guys. There's not a lot out there, and I did the best I could to give you as much data so that you could, when you can't sleep, you can go through these charts and get some additional information about that. So I'm not doing okay on time?
You're doing fine.
Okay, just want to make sure.
7 more minutes.
All right, good. Other questions?
I was just going to say, like the other way around, now we can see
Yeah.
people like me, who's going to be doing it self-finance for the most part, at least there's some number to kind of just...
Yeah, and there is. I mean, it's a huge investment, but it seems that it pays off from what we can tell statistically speaking. We hear from our students how it pays off for them, and we can share lots of stories of these people that become CEOs or successful entrepreneurs. And one of our students 3 years ago, when he started his own business, and he did all these competitions, and I think he walked away with hundreds of thousands of dollars in prize money from the several entrepreneurship competitions. One of the young students that we wanted to create his own alternative energy business. So there's some good things. And don't forget, we have loans. It is a tax write-off for many of you. I've done that presentation with some of you, and I will, in your first quarter, do a presentation of how to write this off and keep the tax. So, and the other thing is, and I don't know if Susan addressed this, talk to your employers. As you can see from what the students and the industry has reported, that the employer is getting a lot of value from this and from you. And talk to them about providing some additional compensation. We met with senior HR folks at several major companies when I was on a committee of the Executive MBA Council. And they told us across the board that if there's high performers, hypos, in the company, that even though the company policy for reimbursement is low, or that $5,250, which is a tax thing, they will consider giving more money to high-performing folks if you can work that out with your vice president or division chief that heads of your section. So, have that discussion.
So is this information all proprietary research material, or?
Exciting topic. Well, hi everyone, I'm Carla, and as Gonzalo mentioned, I did just get back from Singapore, so I don't know what time it is in my mind, but they're 14, 12 hours ahead of us or something like that, so it's probably the middle of the night. But anyway, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about the curriculum. You've probably been reading about it. I wanted to point out some commonalities just across all EMBA curriculums, and then some of the differences that I think make our curriculum really special. So I'll talk about the curriculum, I'll talk about our electives, our exchange programs with other universities, our own Anderson-offered international courses, and I'll talk about our certificate programs. This will be more than you ever wanted to know about what you would study if you were here, but hopefully it'll give you a thorough picture. Trust me, I could have gone into more detail. I'm keeping it kind of at a broad level right now. So first, let me start with the core courses. The core courses in executive MBA programs, if I look across all the programs, look pretty much the same. I mean, you're going to have finance, you're going to have accounting, you're going to have statistics. What we've done is try to go in and work with all the professors and make sure that we're giving you some theoretical background, because you need that. You need a framework to kind of hold knowledge in your mind in. But what we're trying to give you is material that's very applicable, that is very useful and more practically oriented. You can imagine all sorts of statistics courses. Ours is very applied, and just to demonstrate that, it would be unusual for the statistics professor to win the Outstanding Teaching Award, and ours has won it several times. So just to show you what the first year looks like, we start with the one-week Leadership Foundations course. And this is going to be really terrific this year. We're bringing in, it's always been terrific, I think, at least as I've known it the past 6 years, but we're really jazzing it up this year. We've talked about with a lot of our executives who've gone out, and they asked them to reflect on leadership and what was valuable to them and what they would like to have more of. So we've kind of changed our week around to really give you more tools, more analytical skills, more networking possibilities. So this is a really good week where you get to know your classmates, you get to know your professors, you get to see the different areas you'll be studying, and plus you find out more about yourself. So we're giving you an assessment. I don't know if you're familiar with Berkman. Has anybody ever heard of that? Yeah, so it's a very in-depth assessment that you take, and it will identify your strengths and areas where you might want to work more on, how you work individually and as in group or in groups, how you work under stress, what are your best learning situations, etc. So it's a very helpful tool. And then there's you're put in your study group, which we assign study groups the first 2 times, and then you find your own study group the 3rd time. So you work with the study group for 2 quarters each, and then once you get the study group, you can see how your styles interact in the study group. And that proves to be very interesting. So this is an intense week, but a week that's a lot of fun. Then we have a couple of weeks after this week where you have some free time, you're back at work. And then we start with your 2 fall quarter courses, which are long name, but basically statistics, and then marketing. So we start you with one quant course, but even those that don't feel very quantitatively inclined seem to really love the statistics course as a professor, and also with marketing. And during this period, we're having leadership speakers in, we're having a 10,000-mile checkup, etc. So I don't write leadership all the way through here, but it sort of permeates the program. In winter quarter, you begin with managerial accounting. This is really pretty much financial accounting. You're reading financial statements, you're analyzing financial statements, you're producing pro formas that you might need if you're going to be involved in an acquisition or whatever. So a very practical course. You're also taking a microeconomics course, again with very practical overtones. And if you're interested in our entrepreneurship certificate, which I'll talk more about that in a minute, given that we have so many people that are interested in this, we schedule that at very IMBA-friendly times. The other certificates that I will talk about are definitely available. They're accessible to you, but they're not necessarily available on that Thursday, Friday, Saturday slot. The entrepreneurial classes are, and there are about 7 or 8 entrepreneurial classes. You don't have to take all of them to earn a certificate, as I'll talk about, but you would take a good many of them. And they cover such things as feasibility assessment, business plan development, getting funding for your project, the possibility of going public, building in a corporate governance structure. So a very detailed look at the requirements for being a successful entrepreneur. And we have speakers coming in beyond the entrepreneurial professors. In spring, you would take macroeconomics. Professor Ed Lemer teaches that. He's head of our Anderson Forecasting Center, which is really world-renowned. Talks a lot about what's going on in the economy. Professor Lemer often publishes in the New York Times, so it's kind of neat to be in class with somebody that's just written an article in the New York Times. And you have your first finance course with us at UCLA Anderson. In these courses, what we've done, for those of you, again, that have been away from math or quant skills for a while, we do have online support to get you ready for that. We have some math prep courses, which Sylvia can talk more about, as well as accounting prep courses that we've prepared. So if you feel like you need a little bit of background before you actually get into these courses, they're available. And we also have, of course, TA support all the way through. So I'm going to move now to the second year. Any questions about this before I hit the button? Okay. In the summer, you'll take your elective classes, and I'll talk about those in a minute. They're a whole little world unto themselves. In year 2, we've changed things slightly. So in the fall, we will offer you the opportunity to take advanced finance or advanced marketing. What we've learned over time is that people tend to sort of aggregate into finance or into marketing. We used to have them take advanced finance and advanced marketing. Not everybody loved that. Some of them, people felt like they more wanted to specialize. Now let's say you did want to take advanced finance and advanced marketing. Well, they're offered at the same time, but throughout all of our courses, they're all taped, and we will make arrangements for you to take those if you want to. Someone would sort of be an elective. Someone would be required to have one be an elective. We also have our operations course. A wonderful course. For the past couple of years, the professor that's taught this has one outstanding teaching board. You're going into all sorts of things, supply chain management being one of them, but just logistics, delivery, around the world. Should you centralize, decentralize what? A lot of very interesting and very current case studies in this course. And during this quarter, you also begin your 6-month consulting project that all of our MBAs do. For the executive MBAs, it's called Strategic Management Research, or SMR. And here you're working with a company. About, I'd say 60% of the projects are international, about 40% of them are domestic. You look at the company, you form a team, and your team will usually be multidisciplinary, so there will be a finance person, a strategy person, a marketing person, an ops person, sort of an HR person on the team, and you'll go in and you'll work with a real company and tackle a problem. The problem can be, we want to roll out a new product, or we want to do a bunch of acquisitions and roll up the industry. So it can be sort of at a macro level, an industry type project, or a specific company project. Very interesting projects. We work with big companies. We've worked with Google and Starbucks and some big ones. We work with small companies that are just getting going. Companies do have to be of a certain size, though, for us to take them. So this is very intensive. Our graduating classes, right in the middle of this, you can see this goes through. This is just the launch, so not much time here, but this is really concentrated work on that 6-month project. And by the time the students get to June, of spring quarter. Believe me, they know the company as well as the CEO. And some of our students have actually, stayed on and worked with the company or worked with the company on a consulting basis because they know it so well. So this is a very exciting thing, and this 6 months consulting course really brings together your skills in every area. I mean, you really have to know strategy and marketing and everything to be successful in this. So in winter quarter, you're taking management of human resources, which goes into a lot of interesting topics, including compensation, negotiations, some issues like that. We have offered communication skills to our executive MBAs sort of on an elective basis, and we have an excellent communications professor here, and it is such a loved course, we decided that we would integrate it into the schedule. And this starts off on an individual level with you going and being filmed and giving a presentation maybe that you're going to give at work, or if you're going to be going on an interview or whatever. So you're filmed, and then you're getting some specific feedback from this instructor about, well, this is something you do wonderfully, and this is something that you might want to improve on. And then you get a lot of guidance, a lot of really interactive visual guidance where you see clips or actual people coming in and making presentations, and you can critique them. Now don't start doing that to me right now. I'm still in a jet-lag situation, but you do learn a lot about what works really well and what doesn't work. And I have had executive MBAs say, I'm a really good presenter. I don't think I need that course. And one of their classmates will say, well, come on and take it with me. Let's just see what it is. And by the time that they finished this course, they said, wow, I learned so much and I'm so much better. So I suppose this is a skill that we could all improve at. So we think that this will be a really strong component of the curriculum, and the professor that teaches this also teaches leadership. So he's sort of weaving together communications and some leadership skills. And you're very busy in this quarter with your consulting projects. So we purposely try to make these quarters not so quantitative, because you've got enough quantitative material going on with your consulting project, which does have a big finance component. So in the spring, you're taking strategy and business policy, which is a perfect time for that, because at this point, you're really doing your strategic analysis for your project. And finishing up your SMR project, and also the students in their time with us by doing an international trip. This year they're going to Beijing, but that program's sort of been expanded. There's a group going to Shanghai first, and then there's a group going to Hong Kong second. So while we are officially together for about 5 days in Beijing, looks like a little bit longer program if you look at everything that the students are doing. So that takes you through the second year, and as I mentioned, throughout all this time, we have leadership speakers coming in, we have CEOs of companies. Sometimes there's, students will say, because they're taking maybe the ops course, could we have a COO come in and talk? So we're lining these up, and they come in and speak, usually on a Friday for about an hour after your class session. And they're very interactive, you're finding out what they're doing. Yeah.
The SMR project, are you like, is your group assigned a company or industry, or do you kind of get to choose? How does that
You get
work?
to choose. We bring a smorgasbord. We try to bring more than there are groups. And then if you're interested in high tech, there will be several high tech ones. If you're interested in healthcare, there will be healthcare. If you don't care what it is, but you just need to be in Brazil, there's usually a Brazilian one. So there's all sorts, and there's there's some give and take. You get to list your top 3, and we try to match you. And yeah, I keep thinking it should just be assigned randomly, because if you were in consulting, you wouldn't know what you would get. But we try to match with them.
So is SMR really like?
For example, when we're in Prague and Budapest this summer, this is also a marketing course, because it's led by a marketing instructor. So it's sort of marketing in emerging economies like Eastern Europe. In France, this is a course that's taught jointly. This is kind of an University, and this is on luxury branding. It's also on sort of the financial situation in Europe with the EU, and we have speakers coming in from Mannheim University and the European Union. So in Peru, this was taught by an economist, so it was very much on the economy of South America. In Japan, this was taught by Marika Sakikabara, so it was doing business in Japan, and also she's a strategy professor about strategy. China, also a strategy professor. I tend to send more strategy professors and economics professors because they'll give you a global view, but also, I mean, in India we had a finance professor. South Africa was on healthcare and sort of operations, delivery of goods to distant places. In Thailand, actually this was sort of leadership and communication. So it's kind of all over the board. And we have generally around 40 to 55 students traveling with us at any given time. We've already got them planned pretty much through 2014 and talking about 15 now. We plan in advance. We have very nice accommodations. We have to arrange speakers and buses and restaurants, so we plan far in advance. The certificates I mentioned, there are 6 of them. They are totally optional. What they basically require is that you become really an expert, a specialist in an area. So we delve deeply in an area. So if you have a finance specialization or a finance certificate, for example, this would ensure whoever you're talking with that you know a lot about finance, more than just the average MBA student would know. Same is true of marketing, definitely entrepreneurship. There you're not trying to maybe impress somebody externally, you're trying to make sure that you have the skills to be an entrepreneur. Advanced International Management gives you a lot of courses on doing business internationally, operations courses, negotiations courses, etc., with an international bent. Sustainability, we have a course that we're offering in December on that, which is in Costa Rica with a university called IE, or abbreviated IE, the leading university in the world in some aspects of sustainability. It will be our second time with them. And then we have a technology leadership program. It's called the Easton Technology Leadership Program that really prepares you to more, I mean some of you already are, but more to be an executive in the high-tech area with courses devoted to that. So all of these certificates basically, I'm kind of generalizing now to say very little bit, but require you to take about 4 extra courses in the concentration. I think we have one person with this graduating class that's getting a concentration in 3 areas.
Yes.
This is almost impossible, but somehow she's doing it. We do have people occasionally get 2 areas of concentration. For example, entrepreneurship and finance is a popular combination. But we have many people get 1. I would say probably, I don't know, depending on the class, half the class to 2/3 of the class usually picks up a concentration along the way. You know, if you're really busy with work, it's hard to get one of these. If you have a little bit of extra time and a lot of interest, you can do it. Yes?
Is there any certificate that's more successful? I know that's a little more popular, but do you have anything that has been like more successful than others as far as?
Well, you know, people tend to be attracted, you know, to their area of interest, and you know, we have so much evidence if you do what you love and you're interested in and you're passionate about, you're going to do better. So it would be hard to say, because I can think of some people that have done finance that have done, you know, really leveraged that. We haven't had as many people do marketing, but there are some noteworthy examples in that. We have a couple of people that have done some amazing things internationally. So now I can't say for sure. No. Any other questions?
A follow-up to her question, just when I was looking through this stuff and kind of doing the math, it looked like you only had 2 or 3 people last year do the sustainability certificate.
Yeah, that's
I'm curious why it was such a low density.
I don't know, you know, sustainability is slowly catching on around the world. There's a lot of talk about it, but not much action. responding to the current marketplace, but, I think a person of vision, might think that, listen, if I had this sustainability, it's gonna come in handy, but, it's probably less readily saleable than say, I have a certificate in finance. So I think it's very interesting if you look at the courses of that, really interesting. When I'm over in Asia, they talk much more about sustainability, than they do in the United States. So I think it sort of depends on your orientation. Yes?
Just a question on the previous slide. The international study courses, are those typically 4 units as well?
They are all 4 units. So right, if you took, you went to the June block and took 2 courses, and then one of these, you would have satisfied your electives. And that's probably why we have people will go on 1 or 2 of these and go to the June block. So they definitely end up taking generally more courses than they have.
And are these a week long?
These are a week long. So we usually start, we travel over the weekend, and we usually start Sunday night with hi everybody, we're here all together. We arrange all your lodging, all your transportation, most of your food. We're trying to give you some free afternoons and free time so you'll get to know the country too. I know one of the courses I like to do is to go to Hong Kong. That's one of my favorite cities. And so when I'm in Hong Kong, I try to give everybody the afternoons off with just assignments. Here are 15 places in Hong Kong. You need to go there and you need to write about your impressions on this. I know we can all get to Wikipedia and write down the history or whatever. I want to know what you think about it, and I want to see a picture of you there because I really want you to get to know Hong Kong. And then you need to be at 3 o'clock, you need to be here at Morgan Stanley meeting with one of our alumni to hear about this or that. So we do it all different ways, but they are very much fun too. When we're down in Chile, we start with a scavenger hunt, which is kind of interesting. Occasionally we lose a few people, but we get them back by the minute. I know when I was in Hong Kong, I lost one. We went back over the border into China, and I lost one guy in Shenzhen, but we figured out who it was. I eventually found him. Yeah, there's always a story, as you might imagine, with these trips, keeping track of 50 some odd people. Yeah, any other questions?
Are those additional costs?
They are. Good that you asked. Generally, they're about an additional $2,750 plus your airfare. So they're not for the faint heart. And on the other hand, if you are getting financial aid, they are covered by financial aid. And if you think about it, you're taking a class within a week. You're getting your lodging, you're getting a lot of food, you're getting into cultural events, etc. So we try to do it. Believe me, we don't make money. I'm usually losing a bit of money here and there, but we want really our students to be international, have an international global perspective. We would like to have global leaders. We know that people are moving around all the time. We think this is important. And we try to do it as nice. We want you to have nice accommodations. So we're putting you usually in pretty good hotels, but maybe not 5-star, but maybe at least 4-star. Sometimes 5-star for in Thailand or whatever. But we want you to have a good time, but to learn a lot too. And the good thing about these is you can bring a significant other. And we have separate side activities for the significant others while you're in classes. But there are things at night or some cultural events or stuff like that your significant other is invited to. So they who haven't seen you for a while get to see you maybe in some foreign country. Yes.
So then along those lines, maybe being there the weekend before, weekend after.
Oh, sure.
At your own expense.
Yeah, and we try to give you the same rates that we're paying. So because we usually can try, because we're buying in bulk, we can get things much more reasonably than you usually could individually. Yeah, are there any other questions? Yes.
The same. Thank you very much for that presentation. It's been great. Quick question as far as like healthcare tracks. When people have done healthcare electives, do they do it through the School of Public Health? And is there any idea or any perception about starting a concentrated track?
We have talked about that. We think that's a good idea. There's a lot of interest in it. We periodically have courses in it. I just don't think that we offer courses on a regular enough basis right now that I could, launch that with any degree of certainty that you would be able to get all your courses. So we do team up with the public health. We do have a number of healthcare courses here. It just depends, you know, on the professors and what they're offered. So I could probably say that in any year you would have access to, you know, 2 or 3 such courses. Would you be able to get enough for a certificate that are different? Because there tends to be the same ones that are demanded. I'm not sure yet, but we are interviewing in the healthcare area, so I don't know, things could be different in a year, but we're all looking at that very much. You know, we have healthcare, we have marketing, we have healthcare operations, we have healthcare economics, and then public policy we've teamed up with some other healthcare. So there's a nice offering there, we just don't have a certificate right now.
Along similar lines,
Yeah.
what about like, I mean, LA entertainment industry is big, so I mean, in terms of that as a focus group or like someone with supply chain management background, operations, I know we talked about some operational aspect, but like, could you elaborate in terms of entertainment and
Right, we have an entertainment center here. So it's, I don't know, it's called memes, media, entertainment, media. I don't know what all those initials mean. Do you know, Sylvia?
Sports is in there somewhere.
Yeah, there's sports
Like
management.
management.
There's movie production. It's, you know, if you're interested in that, we'll get you hooked up with the right people. So there's not a certificate in that. There's a center of that. You have the ability, if you take enough courses within that, to declare yourself a specialization. Also in healthcare, it's just that we don't have a formal certificate. So if you take 12 hours, you have a specialization in the eyes of the university. We just don't have a formal certificate. And we offer a number of courses in the media, entertainment area, and we've had a lot of people go through, as you might suspect, with that background from the major studios. Operations, well, we have a whole host of all kinds of operations courses. So while they may not be officially offered through the MBA program, if you take them with our part-time MBAs. Remember, in our part-time MBAs, we have about 900 of them. And at any given time, 600 of them are taking a technological standpoint in operations delivery.
Can you talk about the professors? I mean, do you have a dedicated professor just for the MBA, or is it?
We have some professors that just teach the MBAs because they want to teach the high level students with the most experience. And we have other professors that teach across the programs. All the professors that are teaching in the MBA program are award-winning professors. They've won, you know, several teaching awards. They are teaching with distinction. Believe me, I've taught the MBAs before, except when I got to be the dean of the program, I didn't have to teach them accounting anymore. It was fun, but it's hard to give somebody a B if you know, are you a dean, I think. Not that, you know, well, anyway, I think thinking about my last lecture, some people in there really deserve to be. But anyway, no, the professors are, I think, to a person really excellent. They care a lot about the students. They really value teaching the MBAs. They put a lot of time in it. They are accessible. They also have, I mean, they're busy, you know, doing research and going to conferences and giving presentations and stuff. They do have TAs, but they're, you know, just really excellent. So in the normal courses, you pretty much have our tenure track faculty. In our elective courses, you might tend to have more our practitioners. So many of them have PhDs, but they've gone a more practicing route. So they may be doing consulting in the M&A area. I think of Professor George Geis, or something like that. So they're not so much research focused, they're more, you know, entrepreneurial focused or whatever it is they're teaching. So you get a blend of, you know, die-hard academicians, but again, we're trying to keep a practical emphasis in the classroom as well as very advanced practitioners. I mean, it seems to be a blend that works really well for the students. I seldom get a complaint about the professor other than, that professor didn't call on me enough. That was one complaint I got. Oh, you want to be called on more? Okay, we can arrange that. But, yeah.
Let's take one more question.
Is the first week of the program, is that orientation and the Leadership Foundation, this course we mentioned? Or is that...
There is a one-day orientation, which Sylvia will tell you about, and then there's the one-week Leadership Foundation. So they are separated in time a little bit. Yeah, that first one-week leadership, I'm telling you, I'm so excited about the schedule. It's really amazing. You will will be dealing with about 10 to 15 different people will be coming in and giving you the best of what's going on in their area. And it's a time of real self-awareness too, where you may think that you know yourself pretty well, but I think you would be surprised, and also getting to know what promises to be an amazing group of people. So it's a really, I mean, people leave that week sort of euphoric, and then they come in and they take statistics. A little bit of an eye-opener. But as I said, we've got a great stats professor, so no problems.
Technology certificate. That in your next slide, you talk about technology certificate.
This one?
Yeah, you can talk about that.
So what are the typical courses for the technology leadership?
What are the courses in
Typical courses.
Francesca, we would have to look back on that. There are a couple of these courses that come to my mind are taught by our operations people. They, Uday Karmarkar teaches a course which really is sort of a big data course. There's another course on sort of data networking. I mean, this is outside of my area, so I'm just guessing what these courses are called. They tend to be smaller courses. They're with just the I mean, the focus is really on the management of technology and how it works in, you know, basically large corporations, globally, etc.
I'm happy to look up the courses and email them to you.
Yeah. There's actually an HR, 1 or 2 small courses as well, because most technologists don't have that opportunity to manage people, they manage teams. There's actually a picture in the brochure of Nan Bowden, who did get their certificate along with one of her classmates. She started Myricom.com and always was a technology lead. Her PhD was in EE in Caltech, and so she was always the technology person. And halfway through the program, and of course she'd been through the leadership piece that we have in the regular curriculum, and then she was also halfway through this technology leadership certificate. Her board came to her and asked her to be the CEO. She'd been CFO, she'd been COO, she'd been SVP. But if you'll look, because we redid this halfway through her program, her title is CEO. And she will always say it's because of the certificate here and the leadership program through the curriculum and the diversity of her class, because she could learn from people other than technologists who are managing. So she's a great example of, usually there's 1 or 2 MBAs that will participate in this certificate program. Okay, thank you, Carla. Thank you.